I met a gypsy.
Much and all that. So like while I'm becoming more physically fit, I'm also becoming more of an efficient rider on the bike because of how he's changing me to ride. So I was like the Barcia, you know, like Barcia gets away with how he rides because that's how that works for him, right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily what worked for me. And that's who I idolized growing up was Barcia. So like I do have times when I'm not afraid to like, you know, just dump the clutch and hold it wide open and go throw a fat whip or scrub or not and like just keep moving on. Where Tony now is like, you see how Roxon and Sexton ride? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, you know what? They're efficient. That's the way we're going to go. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I see more of a change with my body on the bike than off the bike to answer that question.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was actually going to ask you about Barcia. I think Barcia is one of the coolest people in our sport. And especially...
I agree.
Especially since he dropped BAM TV. That shit is as dope as a moto video vlog can get. And I'm so glad that he has, for whatever reason, decided that that's what he wants to do. And he wants to show people like the real version of him, and then obviously some stuff's clicked with Will, gets it overall, but it's super cool to see a guy that's like your age, that he's a guy that's like a few years older than you, but he's like the guy that you idolize. And I feel like we're kind of going to start to get into, so like for me, right, when I grew up, I was looking at like James and Ricky, obviously, and Chad. So that was my era because they were like a few years older than me, essentially. Well, like more than a few. But and then like Villapoto and Dunge, they're a little bit younger than me, but I'm still like kind of watching them go pro, and that they were my guys. But it's cool that your generation has guys like Barcia, Tomac, Roxon, Wilson, and you know, so like you've idolized these guys, and now you're there like racing with those guys. It must be pretty cool.
No, it definitely is. So I actually rode with Barcia for the first time. It was in like it was 2009 when he first went pro. He was at the track called Blue Diamond, and that was one of my local tracks. And I hung out with Justin on and off the bike. Like at the track, he would literally try to take me out just because, and I thought it was awesome, and I was like, do it more. And then you know, at the end of the day, like off the bike, we went like mini golfing and all this other stuff, and he's just a funny dude. And one thing that irritates me about the sport is if a dude makes a pass or something in a race, oh, he's an asshole or blah blah blah. No, it's just a racing incident, right? Off the bike, they're awesome. Like I would have never have like, okay, so Ferranda's, for prime example, his pass on Craig, right?
Ruthless.
People blew that out of proportion. Oh my God, like booing, all this, and I'm like, people would ask me like, how do you feel about it? I'm like, I love Dylan. And they're like, what? Are you crazy? I'm like, do you see him at the test track? They're like, no. I'm like, well, you know what? They watered the track one time, and I was going to go out, and he said, hey, they just got done watering. I'd wait a little bit to be safe. I was like, you know what? This dude just looked out for my health. He didn't have to do that. And who do I talk to the most on the line? And it's just a few words because nobody really talks to each other on the line. It's Barcia, AP, Ferrandas. And I've talked to Roxon just a little bit on the line. But besides that, and Hartrath, because he's like, he grew up in Jersey, so like him and I have been boys. But they're good people.
Yeah.
And they just don't see that because of racing incidents. You know, like people blow things out of proportion, and I feel like if you really want to have an opinion on somebody, you need to get to know them as a person and not as a racer.
Yeah, man, 100%. And for whatever reason, dude, I am so pumped to be living in a time where a guy like Justin Barcia is down to rip his fucking team shirt off in every single video and put that shit out on the internet. I'm so down to live in a time where AP is fist pumping for the whole shot at Red Bud, or was it Bud's Creek? And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
the time of like
Silverdale.
the time of like shutting riders down and, you know, like shitting on riders for having a personality is officially over. It is now a free-for-all as to who can be themselves the most. And it's like, I mean, I can't speak on why Barcia didn't decide to do this sooner, but it's like, obviously he didn't feel okay to be himself. And you know how fucking much that must suck to be making millions of dollars a year doing the thing that you love, but you've got to put your personality in a box.
Yeah. No, and this generation, people don't want that. People want personality, like, because yes, your results like give you some type of value, but you being you is the best value.
Yeah.
And I think people are finally starting to see that, and it's like, it's moto. Let us be us. Like, this is America. Let us be free. You know.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.